Hello, Strategist here, and today we're covering the Dwarves, both the Dwarven Child events and the Dwarven Child Growth events for Thea to the Shattering. There is going to be a few things that we'll need to discuss though, because I believe some of the things aren't working as intended, we'll say. So we're going to go into children, and today for Dwarven children there will be two things we'll be covering. Just regular old dwarf children, and the Stork event that happens when you have a dwarf and a rusalka. First, we'll be going into the dwarf child video. To go into this, it's pretty straightforward as it goes through. It checks to make sure you have a male dwarf, a female dwarf. It says human and humale, that's because it was copied from a different event. If you notice, it does check for dwarf. You could ignore that. Normal requirements: need to make sure you have an adult, at least one male, one adult female. 1% chance you need 3 or less children in your group at the time. 50 earthbound loyalty, so better make sure the dwarves like you. And your account has to be above B1, which, as we discussed with the elves, will be 0 at the beginning, but then once it's triggered once, you'll have to then wait that amount of turns. Continuing on to figure out how many turns we have to waste, we are going to have to wait 400 turns before children. That length of waiting mitigates an issue that I'm going to be addressing in the future, but if you do change that waiting term, do note that you're going to cause a different issue down the road. It gives our adults skill packs and blesses them. Continuing on, that one's just a plot point. Then we see here you have an 85% chance to get a Dwarven child, so that's good. However, if that doesn't work, you have a 15% chance to get a Troll Rocker and add intelligence and wisdom to it. Or, that's the way I think it was intended to work. What this does is it creates a list of all of your Troll Rockers, then gives you a child, then gives your Troll Rockers 7 intelligence and 7 wisdom. What this means is it only buffs the Troll Rockers you already had, not the one that was just born. Maybe this is intended and Troll Rockers somehow get stronger as a whole, with the oldest Troll Rocker getting exceptionally stronger for every new Troll Rocker, but that's the way it is currently set up. And then after that it gets to the end. Now, a bit of a proof of concept, I've gone through and edited that event already, and what I've done is I've taken out the prerequisites for it to generate. It doesn't look for adults anymore, it doesn't do any of that jazz. And there's only a 1% chance for us to get a Dwarven child. So I'm going to back out of this, go to modules, exit and save and exit. Single player, new game. Going to make sure it's him so we can have a dwarf child to grow. Next, we're going to make sure that we are the first Dwarven child, and I'll name him Test. I think that's a Dwarven child. We will start the game. We're going to have the first event pop up, which is the... I'm forgetting his name right now. The little dude talking to us. We're going to skip that. That has nothing to do with this. That is always the first event you're going to be receiving. So we're going to skip him. He doesn't have anything to do with this. I'm just going to immediately in turn. So we have take part in the ritual. We're going to take part. We're going to wait the results. And we have forced our child to become a rocker. You'll notice he didn't gain any stats. Say await the results, hit close. Just to make sure we lock in that information, I'm going to go to the man who just got named rocker. And we're going to name him First Rocker. Or he was our first one. His stats are, stop it, that he has 7 intelligence and 11 wisdom. That is what he has. We're going to end again. We should get another dwarf, which you'll now see that we've got first rocker with plus 7 intelligence, plus 7 wisdom, and we have rockers. So we'll hit close, look at the groups again. We now have 2 rockers. I'm going to name the second gentleman here Second rocker. Oh, the 2 didn't go through. Let me try that one more time. Second rocker. And again, to confirm, first rocker now has a 14 and an 18, but second rocker only has a 7 and a 10. If we end again, we take part in the ritual, await the results. Both first and second rocker got that buff, but the newest child did not. Like I said, this may be working as intended. First rocker is now 21, 25. Second rocker is now 14, 17. And the person just born is only 6 and 10. This may be intended. I don't believe so. But like I said, it's not likely to come up since you have to wait 400 turns between Dwarven children being able to be born this way. You would need 2 adult dwarves. You need 2 adult dwarves. They need to have a kid. You need to have 50 or higher loyalty with the Dwarven group, the Earth people. Then a 15% chance for it to become a rocker. Wait 400 turns to get the second child. Then another 15% chance for this to work. What this means is you're not likely, if you do get a rocker, for it to get buffed at all. Now, I have a fix for this. The fix, however, will not work in multiplayer because you're going to be adding in an additional module. But I'm going to turn off wrong list proof and go into what I've corrected. Now, what I've done, what I did here is where it normally does the list and gives you the child, that entry, I've renamed it to Old Rocker, and it does a look for Troll Rockers. Then the next one. Oh, did I do something wrong? Oh, it does a search for Troll Rockers. Then it gives you a new rocker. It gives you the new rocker you're supposed to be having. Then it does a list for rockers again, subtracts that new rocker from the subtracts the old rocker from the new rocker list, and then gives them a bonus. If you do this instead, what you are getting is every time you actually get a troll rocker, it gets the 7 out of 7. Like I said, the way it works may have been intended. I don't think it is, just because of how long and what little chance you have for it to work. But if it is the way it's intended, then I apologize for this. This is tweaking an event and making it so you don't work in multiplayer. But now he actually gets the buff for being born, if you do it that way. If that's not the way that's intended, that's going to get patched out soon. They have a patch coming out on the 1st of August, I believe. So if that's not the way that's intended, it will soon be fixed. At least I believe it will. Going on before we continue to the growth event with the Stork Dwarf Kid, what this checks for, which I found to be relatively humorous, checks for male, checks for female, checks your Rusalka list, checks your dwarf list, checks to see if you have a child. Sees if the dwarf is a male, and then make sure that that male is not a child. Then it looks at the no child list, which is that male dwarf without a child. Then it sees if your Rusalka list is greater than or equal to 1. Then just 10% chance for this event to trigger. The reason why I find this to be kind of funny, it's not broken or anything, just it does a check for females, then it just checks to see if you have one or more in the Rusalka list. It doesn't verify that the Rusalka is a female. I think all the Rusalkas have to be female, in which case there's not really a need for female to be over here. It's just you have something being checked for, and then it doesn't do anything. That just tweaks at my, I'll say OCD tendencies, but I don't want to claim something I don't have. Just my desire for things to be succinct. I will have this child breakdown in the normal child growth event with a slightly different header, because you don't get to choose, you either have the kid or not, but so you can see what your chances are. You have a 15% chance that the kid becomes a dwarf child. If that doesn't happen, you have a 15% chance, I don't like the fact that these are 2, 50% chance that the kid becomes a Rusalka. If that doesn't happen, you have a 25% chance that the child will become a water befuddler. And then I like this one. If all of that doesn't work, what you end up with, this one's slightly broke up, I don't know why. It does a search for children here. Then it gives you a human child. Then it checks to make sure that the child it's looking for is the one just born, like I edited in the Troll Rocker event, and then gives that child Rusalka skill pack and a Dwarven skill pack, which I think is pretty good. I kind of like that can break down. Just going over the numbers, 50% chance for a dwarf, 12.75 for a Rusalka, 18.063 for a befuddler, and a 54.188% chance of getting, I'm going to get a question mark, small human? It's a human, like if you have a half Rusalka and a half dwarf, it's a human? Which makes humans mutts, I guess? I don't know. I like the weird events like this. I like the one where it's one race, but it gets a little something from a different race. So I like that. other than the one, like I said, it doesn't mess anything up. Just the fact that it checks for female then doesn't do anything with it kind of tweaks me. We're going to be going on though with the Dwarven Child video. By the way, to confirm, this and this are just copied from the already existing Dwarf Child Growing Up event. That's what these are under. I've just rearranged it to make more sense and also not cripple me for multiplayer. It does the normal things. Is a child growing up? Are they Dwarven child? So on and so forth. Are they growing? Are they growing? Blah, 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 blah. Then it checks. It does a quick check to see if they're chosen. And this is important because there's another one of these events that I hope is not working as intended. Because this is a dick move if this is working as intended. I believe it's not though. So again, hopefully it'll get fixed rather soon. But do note, one or two of these events, if the child growing up is your chosen one, don't choose that result. So first thing we're gonna do is chance, because I love doing chances first. Chance only shows up 15% plus a child's luck of the time. If that happens, 33% chance, not affected by the child's luck. They become a troll rocker. They get craftsman, 8 intelligence, 6 wisdom, and 3 strength. So there exists a possibility for you to have a Dwarven child, start with a Dwarven child, get chance, choose chance, get a troll rocker, they become a craftsman, 8 int, 6 wisdom, 3 strength, then somehow have 2 other dwarves, they have a child, that child become a troll rocker, that troll rocker buff this other troll rocker to make them really smart and really wise. Which is it's pretty decent. If that doesn't happen, the 33% chance doesn't trigger, they become a lava rocker instead, 5 strength, 8 intelligence. They do get a dwarven skill pack, 3 perception, and they are still a craftsman. Do note, this is a different subrace. It's a lava rocker, not a rocker. If you were to follow this chain of events, your lava rocker will not get the boost from a troll rocker child. After chance, we're going to look down the dwarf or loyalty and male guide, and like how I did last time, we'll notice that what we have is you need loyalty or an adult dwarf, but the chosen one here, that's CM is, no, not chosen, I'm sorry, it's choice male or something like that, needs to be 1. That's really what it's checking, is you have loyalty or adult. That's it, loyalty or adult. So, oh, and it says male. That's because it does require male. It should have been clear on that. So again, like I suggested last time, this edit can be done without breaking multiplayer. I would change that to dwarf or loyalty, comma, and male, just so you know which ones are grouped together. Now, because this one having a prerequisite of male, every event that spawns off of this is male required, even if the events no longer say it. So a lot of the events I'm going to have on the breakdown sheet will say male only. That's because of this upper choice requiring male, even if the lower ones don't say it. I'm going to point out there is a choice here to go back to craftsman. So if you were to see this, you could choose to go back to craftsman. I'm going to remove that just to make it look a little nicer. Craftsman is always a choice. Unlike the elven event, you're not trying to loop something to get a good chance on something. Because this one cannot go back anyways. So once you go into that, you couldn't see if you're, you know what, there's no cheese there. If we look at other than the child safety, we can look at warrior, and this is the one I really don't like. I do not like this warrior choice. It says some things, and then you get an event. And the first thing to pop up only happens if the child is chosen. Are they the chosen one? Are they choice male from earlier? Are they the chosen child? If you choose the warrior path and your dwarf was chosen, you die. There wasn't a chance here. There was not a chance here. This isn't a backup. This is the first thing that triggers. There's no chance for your dude to have any other choice. If you choose that little dwarven kid at the beginning, and then at this event you choose you want him to become a warrior, game over if you can't pay for his death. I have created another event. I will throw that at the end of looking through all these to prove this, but if you choose this, you die guaranteed. I know that cannot be working as intended. because all the events we've seen so far have been awesome, and they tend to work in your favor. Sometimes the numbers aren't there. This is guaranteed you die. I don't think this is working as intended. Just know, don't choose warrior with your chosen one. Really what that comes down to. If they are not your chosen one, 30% of the time, they become a war master, which is, I mean, who doesn't want a war master? If they don't become a war master, they become a dwarven laborer, but they lose strength, intelligence, destiny, maximum health, and they still kind of get a randomized tag. What I have that listed as is a crippled laborer, because you're kind of wanting some of those stats, and just losing them is kind of not good. Strength is your carrying capacity, some damage. Intelligence is good for research. Admittedly, you're not losing much in wisdom, or which I think is one of the core ones for crafting itself, but you lose out on destiny. So your dude, like, you're not crafting all the time. This dude's a craftsman and he doesn't have a good backup. So I don't like that. Or maybe they're a gatherer because it says labor. Either way, they're kind of crippled. They don't do as a decent backup. So personally, I would suggest not choosing this event unless you really want that War Master. Because a quick breakdown is simply a 30% chance to get a War Master, 70% chance you get a crippled laborer. Unless they're chosen, then 0% of the time you get that, 100% he's dead. So not a good choice right now. The fighter just really isn't a good choice. Going up top, we got luck here. Luck can be chosen all the time because it has a white choice, so that's always good. If you choose the luck event, the first thing that happens is 10% of the time, plus luck, they get to become a rune master. So that's good. If they're not a rune master, you go back to this, they die guaranteed. So I don't actually think I had it broken down that well, where I have, oh no, I do have it broken down because it's plus luck. So this is 10 plus luck. And then if that doesn't happen, they die anyways. Which, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, this node just screams out of place to me. Because this event, they're guaranteed to die anyways, even if that wasn't a chosen one. So why does it have a specific thing to chosen to kill you off? I don't know. It makes him a laborer and then kills him. I mean, I kind of know, but I don't know. And I'll explain why. There is an idea, but I don't think this is working as intended. If they're not your chosen one, they still die anyways. So what that does is that means 10 plus your dwarf's luck % of the time, they become a rune master, otherwise they die. Now, because there's only one thing that triggers, you don't even need the sheet to look this up. Just know 10, look at your kid's luck, add it together, that's your chance for a rune master. If that doesn't happen, they die. This leads to crafting. I'm going to skip this real quick and go to the other crafting. On the sheet, I'm going to have 2 things listed for crafting. This one's complicated crafting because you need to go into this to go into a crafting and you get different results from it. So if at the beginning you just teach them a good old trade, you'll always be able to choose gatherer, and sometimes you'll be able to choose smith. I want to make this clear because a lot of the other races up till now, you can always choose gatherer or smith. Dwarves don't have that option. If you see smith, it might be in your favor to choose it. In order to choose smith, 20% of the time, if they're CHM, which is, of course, that they are males. This is a male-only chance, male-only check, and even then, 20% of the time only. So if you get a dwarf that grows up, because you get so few of them, and you end up in the smithing thing here for some reason, and you see smith, I would say go for smith over gathering. If you do choose that, 1% of the time, they die. Ta-da. If that doesn't happen, 99% of the time, they become a young smith. There's no luck involved in this. There's nothing else. They just die 1% of the time, which means, of course, for smith, it is 1% chance to become, 99% chance to become a young smith, 1% chance to die. If you don't see that, you have gather. You don't require anything for gather. 1% chance to die, 99% chance that they become a dwarven laborer instead. Now, admittedly, that kind of sucks. That the first thing up is death, but it's only a 1% chance. It's relatively low. I find that I like, at least lore-wise, that number is locked in. Like, it's just an even thing. 1 out of 10 dwarves die trying to grow up. Makes sense. They're an industrialized race. There's gonna be accidents. I kind of like that. Now, if you don't choose this, if you see Dwarf or Loyalty in Male, and then decide to do crafting, this only shows up if the kid has a 12 in crafting or higher. Let me repeat that. A 12 in crafting or higher to be able to see this. This is after the prerequisite of them being a male, already having an adult dwarf, or 50 tag and loyalty. And so really high choice prerequisites to get to this. If you choose this and you see crafting, maybe choose it. Maybe. We'll break down what you can get out of this. First things first, 5% chance that they become a dwarven laborer, but then they die. So I thought about this from the Elven event. I thought it was weird that there were a bunch of events that upgrade your character and then kill them. And what this is doing is these are supposed to be ways for your hero to not die. Because if they just do the death event, like how this other one was, if they just do the death event, where was it? If they just do this death event, and it's your chosen one, he can come back, but he still didn't become something. Get what I'm saying? Whereas a regular dwarf, he just dies. This one is upgrading him to a laborer, and then he dies. So you get the Goddess of Death event, where you can say, no, I don't want to die, I'll sacrifice 2 other people, but at least your dwarf is still grown up. So that means some of these death events are worse than others. Like, I was treating the elves as some of them as being a worse off event, and I'm starting to think that they're the nicer death events. If they don't get that event where they die, 7% of the time, they become a dwarf smith anyways. Make sure I did this. 5% of the time, laborer, and then die. Otherwise, 7 plus luck, they become a dwarf smith, not a laborer. If that doesn't happen, 15% plus luck, they become a young smith. And if that doesn't happen, the rest of the time, they just become a laborer anyways. What that boils down to under complicated smiths, remembering you need 12 or higher in crafting to get this. All of my numbers, I'm assuming about 5 luck. Just, you can tweak it up or down in your head. It doesn't change the numbers too much. To get a smith, 11.4% of the time. I think I've got the numbers wrong, actually. Nope. 5% to die. No, I do have this right. 5% chance to become a smith, 11.4% of the time. Young smith, 16.72% of the time. Labor, 66.88% of the time. And you die 5% of the time. Now, this is all assuming you have about 5 luck. If your luck is lower, then you'll see some slight tweaks, but really, the big show there is labor. You're not going to have high enough thing to pull away from that because the base luck chances are so low. I believe this actually, like that's really it. Like we're done. We did chance, we did that, we did that. There's not too many events in the Dwarves, but what I would like to do to prove the concept, we're going to do a dwarf child test. We're going to back out of that. We're going to go to children, and I'm going to stop giving us new ones. We're going to go back to regular old Dwarven events, exit and save and exit. Now what this should do, if I set it back correctly, is we won't get a new dwarf, but our chosen dwarf will grow up immediately. So we're gonna get him, we're gonna make him our chosen, we're gonna rename him Test. Proof of concept here. We're gonna load it in. 80%, 83, 87, almost there. Thank you, Svarog, for your great and glorious assistance. Leave all this in the turn, and then the child, because I edited the quick event so you didn't have prerequisites. Like I said, dwarf or loyalty in male, and then you have the chance to become a warrior. You choose warrior, begin the trials, and oh god, you died. So, kind of a bummer. Because now I have to lose 2 people because I wanted to level up. So I really don't like that particular event, but you do get to keep them back, but you get your sanity lost. Like I said, the fact that it's guaranteed kind of sucks. It really does. It's not a chance. It's not even like it's second or third down the line. It's first things first. Chosen one's guaranteed dead. And even then, he becomes dead, but he only gets to be a laborer. So it's not even like you get one of the more advanced things. There's no chance for a chosen dwarf child to ever become a fighter. It's the way it's set up. It's never going to happen. Because as we see, go back real quick, all we have out of that is while we are alive, we are but a gatherer. Kind of a bummer. That will be bringing us to the end of the Dwarven video today. If you found me in any way educational or entertaining, as you likely did if you're still this far in the video, why don't you consider showing me your support so I can continue to grow the channel ever higher, and click that subscribe button up there. We're getting really close to 100, and if we can just make that 100, I can switch us over to having a unique URL up top, which would really help the channel out. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.